in this game, Bobby Fischer shows how to play a perfect Ruy Lopez. The Ruy Lopez is considered by many to be a very laid-back, positional opening, but Bobby Fischer has none of that. He just plays a very nice attacking game. So if you're a Ruy Lopez player or want to play this opening, then this game should serve an example to all. So Bobby with the white pieces goes e4. His opponent, James Tyrone, goes e5. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, the Ruy Lopez. Now black goes a6, and now this bishop has basically two choices. Go to a4 or take this knight. Taking this knight can ruin black's pawn structure and removes the defender of this e5 pawn. Bobby chooses the latter with bishop a4, keeping attention on the knight. Now you can go b5 here, but sometimes a queenside expansion is maybe doing too much for black, so black just goes knight f6, attacking the e4 pawn. We have castles, because if this black knight takes, rook e1 opens lines. The e file will be open, and it can get very dangerous for black. And so black realizes, goes bishop e7, and now his plan is to castle. Bobby goes rook e1, defending this pretty vulnerable e4 pawn. d6 opens up this bishop, and maybe he wants to go to g4 to pin this knight, or it just aims to give a good structure. You know, this is a nice pawn chain for black. But Bobby Fischer seizes the time, and he goes bishop c6. He's ruined black's pawn structure here. As you notice, there's an isolated e-pawn. There's doubled pawns here. And so Bobby Fischer does not waste any time developing. He just goes for a central strike immediately. He has to open up lines while the king is still in the center. We have knight d7. Knight d7 may choose to reroute here. Maybe go bishop f6 and have some sort of diagonals. And then Bobby Fischer goes knight bd2. Now, what knight bd2 aims to do, it's not very clear what Bobby Fischer wants to do is attack this vulnerable c6 pawn. And that's exactly what Fischer does. Bishop f6, knight c4, knight b6, knight a5. Now this pawn is under attack. Now what black should do is not care about this pawn. Even if he loses the pawn, it's a doubled pawn. It was a permanent weakness for black, a permanent target for the white pieces, and he should just castle. But black, like any other normal human being, defends this pawn. But this gives time for Fischer, and that's exactly what he needs. b3, preparing to put this bishop here and maybe attack a castled king. Castles. Now he first takes on e5, and now this diagonal's open. So Fischer seizes the moment and goes bishop a3, attacking the rook. The rook moves to e8, and then c4 by Fischer, preparing another queenside expansion. And here, black doesn't play a great move. He plays bishop e7. Now, bishop g4 was slightly better. Bishop e7 is kind of a very passive move, because you don't really want to block in your pieces like this. This rook is close, and this bishop is never going to trade off. This is, white should never trade off this bishop. Instead, what Fischer does is play the very good move, c5. Now, black should not give a bother about this knight. This pawn is pinned, because if the pawn takes, then bishop takes bishop, and life is good for black. But unfortunately, black doesn't do that. He should just go f5. f5 is a very good move, striking the center with a flank pawn. Unfortunately, black goes knight c8, which is a very logical move, because it gets your knight out of the way, and now maybe you have some plans to go bishop f6 and reroute again. And here, Fischer plays knight b7. You see, this knight traveled all the way from d2 to c4 to a5 and finally to b7. And this queen is smothered in by its pieces. It's kind of like a smothered checkmate, and his opponent resigns because he's going to lose the queen. So this is a very perfect attacking game, spotting your opponent's weaknesses, trading off the knight for the bishop to ruin the pawn structure for black, and gaining weaknesses, gaining time. And Bobby Fischer just played an absolutely spectacular Ruy Lopez.